Hey, everybody, and welcome to the You Don't Own Me podcast. I'm Juliana J., and I am your host. And this is kind of an impromptu sort of conversation because it's been really weighing on my mind. So, for one, I just washed my hair, and it's really ridiculous. When I wash my hair, if I was to blow dry it, I have to let it air dry. So, therefore, it's wet. So, and that typically takes all day. So, Uh, but if I was to blow dry it or something like that, it would just be like really giant and furry, like when you comb a Labrador Retriever and that all that hair in the brush and you take it out, it's this big, like that would be a version about this big of that on my head, right? So I can't blow dry my hair because that's what it'll look like, and it's super tangly then, and it's just, um, yeah, it's just doesn't work. So anyway, I have to air dry my hair. And so here you are. I have wet hair, which is part of what I wanted to talk to you about today. Um, I um, have this thing. Okay, so I'm just going to come right out and say it. So I was on this podcast. I was a guest on a podcast last night, and it's my first time being a guest on a podcast. And I was wanting to really promote the nonprofit I'm starting, Social Refugees, which is a nonprofit that partners artists in the community with our clients. Our clients are people who have been affected by suicide, mental illness, or death. They partner with an artist to tell a part or all of their story or some other message related to what they experienced, not only to allow them some space to really explore that and heal from that. Art is very healing. I don't know anybody who hasn't used music or art to help them through tough times or punctuate great times. Art's really powerful. And in partnering our clients with local artists, they get a chance to really explore that and see what comes up, and then we display it in the community, whether it be music or an open mic or spoken word or some or media art or fine art. We find a way to showcase it out in the community, which is an opportunity for us to reduce some of the stigma about mental illness, suicide, and death, and to really talk about it openly and honestly. And and realistically, because a lot of what people know out there about mental illness, suicide, and death are stereotypes or belief systems that uh, portray those things in a negative light. And it's not really, um, I personally think everyone deals with some sort of mental illness in their life at varying degrees, whether it's depression or anxiety, massive stress, or something more severe. But we just don't talk about it in our society. And it's kind of can be, and some people will perceive it as some sort of strange failing, which it isn't at all. But anyway, I went on this podcast to talk about social refugees. If you want to learn more about social refugees, they're on Instagram at social refugees. They're on Facebook, same. Uh, the website is socialrefugees.org. And you could see all the different ways to give on the link tree in Instagram and Facebook. And there's a lot of ways to give. So I hope you will if this is something that's important to you as well. But anyway, I'll put all those links down in the description below. But so I was on this podcast doing that, and the podcast also asks a lot of personal questions, that you aren't prepared for. You have no idea what's going to come your way. And there were a lot of tough subjects that I could have talked for hours on, but you have to kind of just talk about it in snippets, right? So whatever comes out is a piece of the whole story, right? And then after I was done with the podcast, I just spent the rest of the night and the following morning stressing about everything I said, of course, which is something I'm trying not to do. Don't self-judge. I did a podcast on that. It's really hard. Uh, it's a process that I don't know. I guess you do your whole life. Boy, I haven't lived my whole life yet, so I don't really know. But from what I can see, it's a process. It's lasts your whole life. And one of the things that I was really concerned about, which is so stupid and superficial, because the topics were not at all, was oh my God, you're filming this. What am I going to look like? Oh God, I have a most horrible. I hate my profile, and this podcast is going to be my profile. But I can't. I'm really trying to overcome that, like really worrying about my looks. I think uh, that was a really big thing for me my entire life. And I never felt like I was, you know, attractive enough for things, or I always looked weird. I don't like any picture that's ever been taken of me, really ever. As I said before on other podcasts, just looking at myself while I'm doing this and editing myself is, a painful process in itself. Um, Looking in the mirror, there was years where I didn't look in the mirror, literally did not look in the mirror, except for that. The only time I ever looked in the mirror was like, is there anything on my teeth, anything on my face, whatever. I was just utilitarian in that way, because I just did not like what I look like that much. And I thought, I was that uh, ugly. So when I went on this podcast, I had a really crazy weekend. Lots of stuff happened. I was really super busy. I hardly had any sleep. Um, I don't, as I've said before, I don't know. I've never mastered my hair ever, so my hair was like all crazy. But I was out all day before I went to the podcast, and I had to rush the podcast to make it on time. So I did. It's not like I, made myself look gorgeous. I was just wearing like a regular t-shirt, and uh, you know, um, I didn't do anything about my looks, because I thought, in my feeble mind, oh, this is a podcast. Who cares what you look like? Whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm filming myself right now as a podcast. So why did I think that? I don't know. But anyway, when I got there, my mind was like, oh my God, he's going to film it. This is horrible. And now he needs to take a picture of me. Oh my God, this is going to be the worst. I always have these squinty eyes. My smile is really weird. I never look good. I only looked good when I was like, 18 or something, maybe. And when I was 18, I did not think I looked good, by the way. But when I look back at images of myself, I'm like, okay, that's cool. But at the time, I thought it was ugly when I was 18. So, that's just a struggle that I think probably all of us have, right? I would think so. I don't know. Maybe there's someone out there who thinks they're drop dead gorgeous all the time, but I imagine everyone has their moments. But anyway, so that was really horrifying for me. And when I feel like that, I tend to, here, I have to put this down a little. I tend to be like this. I'm going to sit like this, and I'm going to, like, in the back of my mind, worrying about it. So my body language is all affected. I'm not sitting up straight and, trying to look my most gorgeous at all times or anything like that. And we're talking about really heavy topics about my personal life. So, I can't even, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't even imagine what my body language is. But that was such a huge concern for me. It was like, oh no, I'm going to look all old and gross and fat, and, all those things that go through your mind. And why didn't I like attempt to look something, Um, but then I decided, when when I got to the podcast and I realized that was going to happen, that I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to, if I look, I'm just going to look like I look, because that's what I look like, I mean, that's what I look like. And if I worry about that, I'm somehow contributing to the conversation about um, people needing to look a certain way and amending themselves in order to do so on any kind of media, so that they're not really representing themselves as they actually are, and that is really damaging to everyone watching on some subconscious level, because they're not seeing the actual person. And we talk about that in this podcast, but um, which I thought was interesting, because while I'm talking about it, the internal stress is like, oh my gosh, I'm going to look just so horrible. Am I going to be able to watch this and see myself in my true actual looks and light? Are people going to judge me and say, oh, that's just an old lady talking about whatever? Because there's a lot of ageism around older people, oh, you can't possibly know what I'm going through because you're just some old lady, or I'm not a boomer, but I'm sure people put me in that category all the time. And we all know the conversation around boomers. Um, and I think that what I have to say is really important to a lot more people. And I don't want my looks to be in any way make people discount what I have to say because it might be important to them, or whatever. But anyway, that was a really big struggle for me in this podcast. Is I'm not going to look good. I'm going to look gross, and that's going to be really hard to watch because it's going to bring up all the things that I don't like about myself, like my side profile is horrible. I don't have a distinct chin. I never have. I wish I had this like really bomb jawline, but I don't have that, and that's going to look weird. My hair was gigantic, and I was wearing glasses. I was wearing these glasses, but I put them up like this in my hair to stop my hair, to just like try to tame it, because also I hadn't washed my hair for 3 days, which I do a lot because I have really dry hair, as per the bushiness I talked about earlier. It's like hay. Like if I was to blow dry it, I could probably crack some off just because it's just like straw hair. And so I was like really worried about oh God, my hair is going to look stupid. It never looks good. Why can't my hair look good? So many people have cool looking hair. I don't know. Maybe I haven't found the right hairstyle, or maybe I'm just too hard on myself. That's probably it. But I was kind of worried about that. So I put the glasses like up here to kind of cover the hair, but I don't know, maybe it just made it look more weirder. And then I was obsessing about like, oh my God, I put my glasses like this, and they're not sunglasses. So people are going to go, oh, obviously she's old because those are reading glasses, which they aren't. They're my regular glasses. I can just see pretty well without them. So I don't wear them a lot of the time. But if I'm driving or something like that, I wear glasses. So I happen to be wearing the glasses. And I put in contacts like when I do yoga or whatever, so I can see everything, because I can't see well enough. So if somebody makes eye contact with me and they're more than 6 feet away, I won't necessarily know that. And so I actually wear them during yoga so I can make eye contact with people. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. I digress. So, yeah, that was a really big thing for me, other than that I started obsessing about maybe what I said that might affect others, which I tried really hard not to do anything that would affect others. And it's just my true story, take it or leave it. It's just my true story. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I hope my true story doesn't hurt social refugees, because, some people will judge me as, well, she's not professional enough, or she's not, she's a loose cannon, or whatever they're going to think of what they see when they see it, which it isn't that excited. I'm making it out to be something it's not, but in your mind, you do that. And then I thought, okay, you're not doing this anymore. You're not supposed to be self-judging yourself. So I kept trying to stop, but it kept coming back. And then I decided I would just put the energy out there that it's going to be an awesome podcast. And this getting comfortable with what you actually look like is part of your journey. And you just have to embrace that, embrace it. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to embrace it. And I hope that it is incredible or not. I hope it is incredible. Yeah. But, I hope it's at least entertaining for people and it gets the word out about social refugees, because I do believe that is a very important cause and we could help a lot of people if we can get it up and going. But I just thought it was important to talk about that whole looks conversation, which is so much more to that, which we'll explore more and more in this podcast. But I just thought it was really important to put that out there because I'm internally stressing about it. And I'm sure people are all the time in everything that they do, worried about their looks. And a lot of that has to do with, how the media portrays people to us and who we're supposed to be trying to look like, what we're supposed to be, trying to emulate. And that if we don't tick these certain boxes in the looks category, then we must somehow be failures, And so this podcast, at least the visual part of this podcast, is really me trying to say, I reject that. And I'm just going to show up as my authentic, actual self. And people should find value in what I have to say. And it shouldn't be based on what I look like. And what I look like is okay. It's fine. We shouldn't all look alike or, strive for this. Why do we have to strive for some image of what the media is telling us we should look like? That's ridiculous. So, I guess that's my protest, showing up like that at that podcast and finding peace with it is my protest to society's need for us all to look beautiful at all times. And doing this podcast right now with my hair in a complete, it's just wet. There's nothing in it, and it's in like a bun thing. That's same. And look, I have mascara on my eyelid. So it's just me trying to be like, this is it. Take it or leave it. I mean, I didn't even turn on the circle light thing during this podcast because this is actually what I look like, So anyway, I hope that that was an understandable little thing, and I hope you all can find some feeling comfort in what you look like, and know that I think that's something everyone struggles with. I think we all struggle with that on some level, at some point, at some time. But we shouldn't have to. That's just something society's globbed onto. And if enough of us reject it, then society will no longer glob onto it. So let's start a revolution of people that look actually like they look, going out into the world and being their actual selves, and in us finding beauty in that, not judging that by standards that don't even actually exist, made up standards from magazines and social media and media in general, that we all can find beauty in each other, and that there's different types of beauty that are actually more important than physical beauty. So anyway, that's my thought for a Monday morning. I will link that podcast I'm in, but it hasn't come out yet. So, and I'll try not to stress about it all day. So, yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk to you all about. I struggle with that too. We're going to do more podcasts about it. But if you're struggling with that right now, you're not alone. So take good care, everybody. Have a good day or night, or wherever you are. Know that I love you, and I support you in being your authentic selves. All right, take care. Bye-bye.